If we humans do not wake up to the warnings, the great purification will come to destroy this world, just as the previous worlds were destroyed. Now, that was said by leading authority of the Hopi Indians who addressed the United Nations in 1994. Now, in the 15th century, Nostradamus foretold in his now famous quatrains of great calamities that would occur in the 21st century, beginning with the appearance of a great monster that would be visible in the northern hemisphere, not far from the constellation Cancer. Now, this monster, as he referred to it, would be responsible for famine, drought, pestilence, and the emergence of a new world war that would continue for many years. Now, many are now wondering if his prophecies are in reference to what we see occurring today. Now, both the late clairvoyant Edgar Cayce and the renowned physicist Albert Einstein foretold of a shifting of the poles that was or would occur within this time frame that we now speak of. Nancy, is there any merit to what was foretold by the prophets of old or more recent predictions that may have a bearing on the way in which we live today?
Yes, and the Zetas have been asked about this, especially in the early days of Zeta Talk. What about what this one said? What about what that one said? And they point out that what you should do is listen with an open mind to all of these for the commonality in these predictions and not pick apart every tiny detail, because there is a number one, you have the source, which might be aliens or angels or whatever you might say is your source. And that source might have mixed feelings about just what to say and what not. Some sources do not like to be the bearer of bad tidings and try to sugarcoat. Then you have the human. You may have an imperfect transmission of thought, or message. And the message may be garbled or misunderstood. Or the human, such as myself, Nancy, may have mixed feelings about just what is said, and not want to be the bearer. This has been said about Sylvia Brown, for instance, who admits to a pole shift, but sugarcoats like crazy, because it's a combination of who she's listening to, and also that she herself doesn't want to be and is uncomfortable with the thought of the disaster that's going to befall the world. So Edgar Cayce seemed to infer that it was going to happen around 2000, 2001. He was off a little by the date. He also said that Virginia Beach would be a safe place. Zetas were asked about that. They said, when we stop rotation, the water will recede from these beaches because it will flow to the poles. The water tends to pool around the equator right now because we're turning, and it slings out. But it'll come back with a rush as soon as the pole shift happens. So anyone going to Virginia Beach is going to drown. They need to be up in the hills.
I don't think that would be such a good place to be during a pole shift.
No. They said it was a timing difference. If it was like that some descriptions are before the pole shift, and then others are after, and same thing with scallion. So that part of it is a timing difference. And they said basically, listen, for the big picture. And if you want excruciating detail, go to Zeta Talk, because one thing they're famous for is explaining why they said what they did. I mean, they go into how magnetism and heat works with subatomic particles, and people say it all falls together when they read Zeta Talk, because they're so voluminous and specific. And Edgar Cayce was a true channel. He was taken over. His body was taken over. And Scallion has yet a different method. He's a contactee. When he's off, he picks up a lot that's in the air and comes back and says it was like a dream and writes it down. I mean, everybody has a different method. I
wonder if Edgar Cayce actually, in his dreams, might have been referring to the hills of Virginia as opposed to the beaches of Virginia as a safer haven during this.
Yeah, and exactly, because if you're up in the Appalachian, you will be okay. You get a couple hundred feet above sea level and away from the coast. So it's so much that could be unsaid, that needs clarification, and we can't clarify anymore. Mother Shipton, was very, very, very interesting report of, and she was supposedly predicting things like submarines and airplanes and the like, and she's talking about the pole shift. She doesn't give a time period, but all of this is valuable. There are, of course, people that come out and are trying to be grabbing the stage these days. But there are some that have been around a while, and I've been around for so long that it's not an issue of they're trying to grab the stage. They're respected, like Mother Shipton and Edgar Casey and the like. Yeah.
Well, another item of concern, at least for some, is the cumulative reports that are surfacing in recent months about large chunks of asteroid or meteors that are exploding across our atmosphere.
Yeah.
Now, some of these chunks of rock have actually made their way to the surface of the Earth, as was the case in Canada last November when a huge fireball crashed to Earth. Now, there have been no definitive explanations as to where these large chunks of rock are originating from or why they are occurring more frequently. Is there something that the general public should take seriously about this? And what have the Zetas said about the frequency of these incoming objects?
Yep, that's a good point. Now, we had some of this in 2003 when we were on the opposite side of the sun from Orion, and when Planet X and its complex, which includes at least a couple dozen moons, about the size of our moon, and a huge amount of trash and debris and red dust, right? It came zooming in, put the brakes on when it reached the sun because there is a gravity repulsion force, which is explained on Zeta Talk. But the tail itself wafted past Planet X, wafted past the sun, and came to us. We had all kinds of red dust reports. We had a blackout in New York City. We had a lot of meteor and fireballs at that time. Then it seemed to go away as the tail kind of wafted back. Now what we have is that complex between the sun and ourselves, and it's turning its north pole away from the sun, getting ready to cross the ecliptic, where it's going to flip. It has to worry about the sun's magnetic lines is what it amounts to. As it's pointing its north pole toward us, the debris and all this stuff blows out from the North Pole because that's the outbound of magnetic, right? And this is a charged dust cloud, and it's blowing it toward Earth, and we're having increased meteors and fireballs, and this is not going to change. It's going to get worse. They predicted that as we flow toward or go toward the time of the pole shift, that the satellites will begin being torn out of the sky. The ISS, of course, is already being binged and dinged, by meteors, and the shuttle. They're very worried about this. Per the Zetas, those people up there are on what they term a suicide mission. They understand it's very risky. And we're going to have satellite disruptions. We'll probably have electromagnetic disruptions. We may have odd, neon clouds in the sky and the like, all going to increase steadily.
Just recently, volcanologists and geologists have been baffled and concerned about a series of earthquake swarms that are occurring within the caldera that surrounds the Yellowstone National Park. Now, many of these quakes have been registering near or over 3.0 on the scale. Now, anything over 3.0, of course, is capable of causing some damage. Now, the scientists are saying that people should not be alarmed by these recent events, explaining that they occur on a frequent basis in this area, and insist that the supervolcano that lies under the caldera is in no danger of exploding, at least in this century. Now this is what they are saying. Now, what are the chances that this Yellowstone supervolcano could explode enough to cause catastrophic death and damage across a vast region? And given the possibility that this planet may be heading towards another pole shift, are these seismic events something that we should be taking seriously?
Yes and no. And according to the Zetas, just let me put out up front, this whole thing about supervolcano that happened in the past, and also there was a TV series, Yellowstone Supervolcano, which would scare the pants off anybody. That's not going to happen because they have stated that this was